What are you supposed to do? Call the meeting to order? I'm not good at procedures. I call the meeting to order. Anyway, so I guess we won't have any introductions today because we all know each other, right?
Right.
Okay. So invitation for public comment, please. Jeanette?
Thank you very much. Anybody who doesn't know, I wanted to let you know that the grant application to the state for the bike ped, the Complete Streets Plan for the Bike Ped Committee was granted, was awarded in the amount asked for. And just as one individual on behalf of the Bike Ped Committee, I wanted to say thank you for your letter of support.
Wow.
Great,
Congratulations.
awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I think everybody was pretty pleased. There may be better information. The very superficial information that I have is that it is partly funded through federal sources and partly funded through state sources. And I mean, honestly, on the face of this earth, nobody knows what's happening to federal sources right now. So there's a little bit of a question mark around that. But yeah, I was thrilled that it got funded and really just wanted to thank everybody for your support. It was very helpful. And we are delighted to have a chance to work on that, assuming the select board can accept the grant and so forth. So.
Great.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah, way to go.
Thank you. That's great.
Thank you.
Sweet. Okay. So did people look at the meeting minutes?
Yes.
Week. I didn't have any changes. Any thoughts on that? Anyone?
I don't think I looked at them because I hadn't oriented myself in the
In the draft.
file, but now I'm looking at it.
Oh, okay. Did you have anything, Jackie?
No, that looks fine.
Wow. It's tough to pass muster with you, you know, you have a critical eye.
Yep, that looks good to me.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Okay, second? Jackie? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we to do that. So we've got this board, commission, and committee policy. Did you get a chance to look at that at all?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Anyway, so we have been invited to comment or critique or, you know, to put our 2 cents in, you know, before this gets adopted. And I think it's next week, select board meeting, I'm pretty sure. Did anybody?
They're not gonna make a decision on that policy until the one after.
Okay.
So I think it's May. It's not gonna be the May 1st or
Not, oh, okay, right, yeah.
I think May 15th. I think it's May
Yes.
15th. They're gonna be
Correct.
looking at it, yeah.
Yeah. Did anybody have any thoughts on this?
What's the context for this? Have they not had a policy before and they are just trying to formalize something for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know of a written policy before. Do you know if there was a written policy?
not that I know of.
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Oh, wait, yeah. I kind of skipped step, well, no, it's not really. Did you have anything you wanted to add before we go into a discussion on this? Staff updates or anything? Okay. Okay. Victor had some thoughts, but I'm disappointed he's not here. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, he is too.
Has there been a problem with attendance at committee? Like, I guess I'm wondering what the goal or the emphasis is for this.
I don't know about other committees. I mean, we've had some people that have not really, you know, that have joined the committee that never really got into it. and then they ended up going off the committee, of their own, just because they, life things and, couldn't do it. But we've never had to tell somebody they can't be on the committee anymore. So I don't know. I mean, so anyway, I don't perceive it as an issue.
I think having procedures in place are good because then like new members know what to expect and everybody's on the same page and you're not kind of making things up as you go along, which there could be an
Yeah.
equity issue in that. If one person is told not to attend and then someone else isn't, so
Mhm.
at least now everybody knows. I mean, without getting into the details of do we want anything changed, but I think it's a good idea to just have a policy personally.
Mhm.
I totally agree. I'm a great believer in processes and procedures because it gives you a framework. But I have to say, I think this could have been written in shorter form and sound, I don't know, more committee friendly than it does to me, but that's just me. You know how I like to go for fewer words.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of disciplinary. The way, like at BTLT, to be a board member, they want you to go to 10 meetings a year.
Yep.
So that it's not like if you do something, then we're gonna fire you. It's more like, this is what a board member does. If you can't agree to the terms of, going to 10 meetings a year, or it's 9 meetings or whatever, then maybe we don't have a deal.
So maybe reframing it to be less punitive in how it's worded and
Yep,
more,
just-
thank you for wanting to be on the committee and the
Yes.
expectation is that you will attend X number of meetings so reframing it in a more sort of positive way.
Well, it
Is that
does
what you're
sound
saying?
like we have a problem, like, oh, we have a
Yeah.
problem, something's happened, but, from our perspective, I don't know what's happened on other committees, but, from our perspective, we haven't had a problem on this committee.
Right,
And, it's the type of thing that the chair of the committee had ongoing discussions with people that, just weren't showing up. That it wasn't something the select board was saying, okay, we're pounding the gavel on you. It was more, just kind of, I mean, a committee, people are gonna have ebbs and flows in their, their ability to show up at every single meeting and all that kind of stuff, so I don't know, maybe we could just, put in a plea for this being a, sort of a minimum commitment or something like that, or,
Yeah, just having it stated more positively would, but if we are supposed to vote on it or something, I'd certainly vote for it. I don't know. It's just kind of a little note to them saying, positive approach sometimes works better.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems, I don't have a problem with any of the things in here. Do you think, item C was related to the letter that the Energy Committee was trying to put forth in terms of that legislation?
Well, it certainly
Might be a reaction.
It certainly applies to that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we're sort of, good with B, I guess, as long as we just, make a case for, that turning into something positive. I mean, I can kind of look at this thing and, glean a simple approach and maybe suggest that approach, like, show up at 10 meetings and, so and maybe it isn't even 10. It's a lot of time in a year that a person could, have conflict or whatever. And the C, item C, maybe other committees have taken positions that were, you know, different than the select board. As far as I understand that whole situation, we kind of fell into that unknowingly. There wasn't a policy at the time, so we really didn't have any idea we were doing anything. And then, you know, we got a pretty strong rebuke from the town manager about that. You know, essentially accusing us of knowingly going against the select board and stuff. So, you know, my position on that is that that's great if that's, if, you know, if that's how they want this to go, it's good to have it down in rules, you know, in writing beforehand. I think it is a little discouraging, though, that there can't be any variance, you know, of opinion about, you know, particular direction, but.
Well, it does say without prior select board approval. So they are leaving space for us to disagree. But
So
course-
you think there's space in there to debate or, you know,
Yeah.
to make a case
Yes.
for?
I think so. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how far we get, but you know, there.
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, I feel like it's good for,
Jeanette has her hand up.
what's that?
It's like Jeanette has her hand up.
Well, I guess
Although,
we're
I guess
free
she's a
to,
member of the public, but
I don't know, I think we're free
I think
to
we can-
hear from
yeah.
her if we want.
Yeah.
Please speak.
You know, one of the things, I saw that thing too in connection with a different committee. And it just, one of the things that struck me is that if select board permission is needed to write a letter to an external entity, with regard to letters to the legislature, that's not going to work because the legislature, the state legislature decides on their meeting schedule, for example, their hearing schedule at 3 o'clock, by 3 o'clock on a Friday, and the hearings start at 7 or 8 a.m. the next Monday. There's just no way the select board is going to, it's essentially saying you can't write to the legislature as a committee because they're never going to be able to meet that timing. It's just never, it's never going to happen. So that's sort of struck me about that.
Yeah, and that's not something we've done before, you know, writing to the legislature. So it could be that that would be something we'd be interested in doing, but it's nothing that we've, you know, run into before.
I was wondering, part G, all appointed committee members shall be reviewed annually by this select board. I'm wondering about what that process means, like, does it mean we go before the select board and they give us a, you know, a grading, or does it mean they look at our attendance and make decisions without our input, or how does that work? So I just have questions about that. I feel like there's not enough information there.
Well, it seemed to me in reading it that it's one of those things that they're sort of putting a stake in the ground and saying, we're in charge here. But the truth is, I don't think they've got the time to do that. How many different committees and commissions are there? They'd have to review all the members of those. We have 7, right? And at least 90 days prior to the end of any appointed member's term. Well, we don't even have terms as a committee, right? So I think they're setting something there that they can't do themselves, but it's like they're trying to say, we definitely decide whether or not you can stay on the committee. And I guess I have a bit of a problem with that. I think it could be spoken, it could be said much more positively and not put such a burden on them. I don't think they've thought about that.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of extra work.
It does. But again, it's just saying, we can review you. But I think they should take out shall, because it's highly unlikely that they would actually do it. Unless they appoint one member. of the select board to be in charge of that. I suppose they could do that. But it just
An
seems,
alternative to that, Mike, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
no,
I think maybe an alternative to that would be that the chair of the committee could report to the select board on a yearly basis.
yeah,
You know, that all systems are go, and if they have a particular problem with a member of the committee, then they could bring that up, but I think it is a waste of time
Yep.
to review each member.
Yep.
You know, for a volunteer position,
yeah.
I mean,
Precisely.
I don't know. I have a little bit of a problem getting fired from a
It's
volunteer.
hard to find
position.
volunteers. Yeah, I mean, it's,
You know,
volunteers are
um,
few and far between, so.
Yes,
maybe-
we're right up at the top. It says it's really important to fill all these positions.
Right.
So,
So
I
were
mean, the
they
chair has to
looking-
make a, you know, report, on a yearly basis anyway. So
Hmm.
we maybe could suggest that. What were you gonna say?
Oh, no, I was just wondering, like, are they expecting us to go back to them with a marked up, you know, like a marked up version with changes, or should we give them a memo? summarizing what we-
Probably a memo, and, you know, attending that meeting if there's something that, feel really strongly about, or, you know, needs to be, you know, delivered directly. But I mean, I think probably a memo makes sense, I don't know. Um, So, you know, committee partnership program application form, I don't even know what that is, but it must be something.
Yeah,
That
we've
is-
gotten that before. We have heard about that.
Yes, so the committee partnership, that's the policy, I believe it passed towards the end of last year. If a committee or commission wants to start on a new project, they would fill it out, and then, among their members, and then, they would basically take it to the select board, and the select board would okay the project.
So it's part of the new charge process then?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah, I mean, we know we're, you know, done in June, and we have to apply for a new charge. After that, okay.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. It's not so much about the new charge, like for like your entire committee or commission's charge. It's any new, for example, the Conservation Commission, even though they're existing, if they want to start a new project, for example, if they're looking into potentially doing a natural areas plan,
Right.
before embarking on that, they would fill in a policy proposal and send it to the select board and say, this is something that we'd like to work on. Here are the steps that we would take. And the select board can say, yep, the town likes this idea, let's go for it.
So that's different than the new charge that we're gonna be
Yeah,
asking for in June or July, whenever we do
From
that?
my understanding, yes, because that charge has more to do with like the existence of the committee. Whereas the example I gave, for example, if the select board says, no, we don't really think that you should pursue this, the Conservation Commission would just continue and do other things.
Right.
See what I mean? So it's more of like if your committee wants to do a specific project, so like within your greater charge.
Yeah.
So if your charge is, that's gonna be up to you guys, like how you would like to, create your new.
Let's just say implement the climate action plan.
Right, see,
And
like,
then a new project would be, what we want to apply for a grant that will fund 5 electric vehicle chargers.
right,
And we
there
have
you
to
go.
apply, or we have to fill out this form to say we want to apply for this grant.
Right, exactly. It's like, because I know that the Energy Committee was started specifically to create the climate action plan. So that's why the differentiation seems a little bit like,
It's like a specific project within the, like our charge might be, there's all these ideas for, in our climate action plan, we're charged with making some of them happen. When we pick one idea, that's when we have to apply to get support to do that idea.
exactly. And for example, you could do, I mean, probably not recommended, but if you wanted to, you could do like multiple in a year. So you might fill out 2 or 3. Again, not recommended, that's a lot, but in theory, you could. It doesn't have to do with like whether or not your committee exists or what, it's just basically every project you want to take on. Yeah.
Okay,
And do
Alright.
we know what this application looks like?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah. I'll make a note and make sure it gets sent out to you guys so you guys can take a look at it.
Okay. So I guess we have to, kind of decide whether to say this seems like a lot of ways for volunteers to get fired. To put it bluntly, or not.
I think Jackie kind of hit the nail on the head that if this were reframed in a more positive, productive way, then maybe the content is not that bad. It's just the way that it
Right.
comes off when you're reading it.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I guess we could make suggestions for how to reframe it.
Yeah.
Somebody could,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
not sure who, but,
so general reframing.
oh, yeah, Jeanette said she's gonna go look for Victor.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, it is kind of surprising.
Dermot,
Oh,
all right.
I know, because he's not one to not show up. He usually,
I know.
maybe he's doing other errands.
Yeah.
He just got waylaid or something.
So, yeah, so,
How about this? How about since I like playing with words, how about I sort of play with it and send it back to you?
that's great.
And see what you think, and then we can just, maybe the first thing we should ask, of the town manager is, did they just want us to say yes or no, or did they want some? I mean, I seriously, I don't want to take time wordsmithing it only to be told, no, you were supposed to just take it.
Well, originally this was sent out to Yvette and I.
Yep.
And we commented back, or I did, I'm not sure if Yvette did, commented back to Sky on this, and then Sky said, well, you should bring this to the committee. So that, so that this is, the words of the committee, not just the words of the co-chair.
My understanding of it is that the select board will be taking input on it during the next select board. During the, I guess, the select board after the next select board meeting. So yes, any committee, board, commission can submit, any input
Okay,
on how they feel about
so
it.
like a memo.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Good, okay,
I'll give it a shot and,
that'd
Get
be
it.
great.
Days.
Jackie, I can take a look at it if you want. We
I
seem
would
to tag
love
team
that.
pretty well.
You and I are a good team. Oh, that worked out so well.
Now, the only thing is, there's sort of the technicality of the quorum and the public meeting and whatnot, and, if we're gonna work on this type of thing, but it also says in here that you can't really,
Have discussions.
have a big email discussion that's not a public process, how do we actually pull that off?
But does that apply, Josh, to something like this?
I'm not sure.
I mean, these are tasks that the committee is undertaking.
I mean,
This
if
is,
it's
yeah,
not
this is-
something the town would be, that the populace would be the least bit interested in. I would think, so.
I know that that in some cases, Conservation Commission has worked together on, for example, like a working document on Google. But I'll look into that and I'll have Sky get back to you guys on that as well. Because
Yeah, I mean, that would be, some clarity on that would be good, because, you
Yeah.
know, we do have work to do, but,
Yeah,
you know,
we can't accomplish everything that the committee wants to accomplish outside of an hour and a half a month.
what, yeah,
So what-
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So like how, you know, what's the basically how, what are the boundaries to how much you guys can work together outside of
right,
the meetings? Yep.
yeah.
Excuse me, guys, I've got to chase a squirrel off my bird feeder.
Keep it real.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Yeah, some guidance there would be good, because, you know, we, you know, run into these situations where, you know, I mean, if that's saying, hey, we gotta watch it, you know, we're getting a quorum here, you know, where
Yeah.
people are discussing things, and, you know, we've kind of bounced back and forth on, you know, one person talking to another and another person talking to another, so it's easy to get sort of off the mark that way. So I got something I'd like to add, and I don't know if it's gonna, if it's gonna fly, but, I would like, if we're gonna, you know, set ground rules and whatnot, I would like to, you know, we have an agenda that we put together, and I would like, before, select board or, town employees come to a meeting to speak, that they get on the agenda, beforehand. Because there's been a couple times that, that the town manager has, showed up to a meeting and basically commandeered, you know, a good portion of the meeting, which was not on the agenda. And, you know, we end up being kind of blindsided, you know, if it's anything of a controversial issue, which, you know, you guys can remember a meeting a few meetings ago. You know, we're kind of blindsided, and I think, that meeting could have been much more smooth and, friendly if we had known the subject beforehand and it was on the agenda.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a fair thing to ask for, but, you know,
That could even, depending on how you guys feel, that could even just be a note that I could take back to staff, like as a, you know, if that's something that generally the committees would committee would appreciate, like, you know.
Yeah.
That could just be something that we just do out of general consideration.
Mhm.
If that's generally how the committee feels, I'd be happy to just, you know, I can note it as like, you know, if we ever have something to say to the committees, you know, out of consideration for their time and their agenda, you know, we could reach out in advance and actually have a time on the agenda to speak about something specific.
So you're suggesting not adding that to this policy document, but just
Oh, is that we
dealing with it? Is
Well,
that-
I mean, I
is that
was
what you're
thinking,
suggesting?
you know, as long as we're gonna be talking about ground rules, having respect for the, committee's agenda.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know,
No,
in
no,
the spirit of good communication.
Yep.
Knowing what the subject matter is beforehand, you know, we know what all the other subject matters are. You know,
Right.
It's nice not to be blindsided. And it's a difficult position, the higher up in the, structure. You know, we've been accused of being disrespectful of the town manager, who was essentially disrespectful of us. You know, first kind of thing. So, you know, it's an issue that's on the table. So, you know, I think we'll add it to the memo and see if we get, you know, blasted over it or not. We'll see.
Yeah, and I was only
Yeah.
as far as adding it to the memo, I think I don't see why you wouldn't be able to add it to the
Right.
memo. It was
Yeah.
just a side suggestion, like if you guys wanted to as well, I'm happy
Yeah.
to also just, you know, bring that back to staff.
Yeah, greasing the wheels of good communication. It's nice for people to know what's coming off. Yeah. So that was the only thing that I would have added to this. Yeah. anything else anybody wants to add or subtract?
For me, it was mostly tone, you know, how things are communicated rather than the content itself, so.
Sorry, my chair's like rolling all over this word.
Sorry, you weren't around for a while.
Yeah, well, the email about the letter, was like the first day I was added to the group. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, there's a lot happening.
Right, yeah.
Welcome to the committee.
Yeah, it would have been nice to know, and all of that could have been completely avoided. Okay, well, I guess we can let that go for now, unless anyone else has any more to say.
I'm thinking Yvette might have some input. She's not here though, but in the spirit of keeping it in the public forum, I don't know how we wanna deal with that, or assume if we haven't heard from her that she doesn't have any input.
Well, let's get some guidance on.
Yeah.
You know, the process that we can use to craft this memo outside of our monthly meeting, because we don't have another monthly meeting before
Yeah,
that comes up. And then we'll decide. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know how to update the climate action plan promotion update. Who knows?
Yvette
what
gave me
about that?
some notes in here,
She did?
because she gave me the
Oh.
template for the minutes. It was basically just, the library will include a blurb in their May newsletter.
Yeah,
I don't know about the Highlands.
I'll take care of that part because
Okay.
I'm just here and I write for them all the time.
Thank you, Victoria and Jackie, for the Crier article draft. It was submitted April 14, no confirmation that it will be included yet. So that's the Crier article. Times Record update, sent article to him too, but no response yet. I don't know who sent to whom, who's being referred to here, but this was a note that Yvette put in the minutes. Does anyone know who sent to the Times Record? I don't remember.
Must have been Yvette because I just sent what we wrote on to her.
Okay. Letter to interested parties, data input and scheduling of letters, sent draft to staff with request. I don't know what any of that means, so if someone else does.
probably Scott does.
Yeah, wait, could you say that again?
Oh, I think that was that a response to letters from the public? Do you know, Jackie? Remember
Yes,
that
I
discussion?
think that's what that was. Yeah.
Okay,
As we did drafts, seems like it was before last meeting, we drafted responses to people who had made comments, just to let them know that, yes, indeedy, we got your comment and thank you.
okay.
But I think if I remember correctly, at the last meeting, she also said that maybe we should reach out to people who, oh, right. I remember because I added a whole bunch of names to the file of people we have reached because they came to meetings. I did that and passed it back over to the staff, and I assume it's back up on the website or wherever it's stored. And I think the idea was to send out notes to all of them saying, it's coming up, come and vote.
Okay. So the sent draft to staff, that refers to you. Jackie sent the draft to staff with a request to send them notice of the upcoming meetings.
Not quite. What I sent to staff was the add-ons to the list of people we had reached because they'd come to meetings or responded or done something. We'd seen them. The other asking, I'm not sure what she meant by that, but I do know that that Yvette intended to reach out to people who had attended. And I think she may have done that on her own. I'm not sure. We shall have to clarify.
Yep.
That's all on old business.
Yep, okay. So the new business. Start talking about, what we might have for a charge. I think Yvette is suggesting that we at least consider, do we want to be called the Energy Committee or do we want to be called something else?
So that's the one, that's the one note I have.
You have a note?
I have a note here from Sky, because it had been brought up apparently about potentially changing the name.
Yeah.
And so what would that entail? So my understanding after talking to Sky about this is that so if the name changes, it's basically because of the way that the committee was created, if the name changes, it's basically the creation of a new committee, which is absolutely possible as well. So if you change the name and thus create a new committee, and basically you just let this one's charge end, and then a new one could potentially pick up after, you would just need to reach out to the select board and ask them about starting a new committee. And then it would be, you'd also want to request a letter from the select board notifying that the climate action plan duties are transferred to the new committee. So that's basically what a new name would entail.
Okay, right.
And if it wasn't a new name, then it could just be, then you could just get, update your charge basically for the energy committee.
Okay. Well, I would throw my 2 cents in and say that's not really worth doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's, most of the committees that are, charged with this climate action planning around the state, usually, most of them call themselves climate action committees.
I was wondering.
But, in the current climate, no pun intended, I don't know if that's wise, like maybe energy is a better sort of less of a, what's the word? Like a
Hot button.
hot button,
Triggering.
on that list of terms that the new administration, doesn't want to see referenced. I mean, yeah, I think it might be less of a hot button just to keep it as the energy committee for that reason. But most committees, I think, around the state call themselves like the climate action committee or something
Right.
similar to that.
Sustainability, Brunswick calls it the Sustainability Committee, which is
Okay,
the
yeah.
thing I would push for, that or resilience. To me, energy is almost too narrow. How do you justify doing an invasive plant inventory if you're the energy committee? That's
That's
all.
true.
And that's on our climate action. But names, to me, words are important and names are important, but I absolutely hear you about not messing with what works. So whatever you want to do, fine with me.
I kind of think by what I've heard, and I hope I understood correctly, but we've been given, through June, on our present charge, and that we are, essentially going to be almost going back to square one. So it might not be that bad of a thing to to change the name. You know, there's no guarantee that, because, you know, we present X, Y, and Z, that they're gonna accept that and that we're gonna, you know, be, you know, continuing committee.
Yeah.
So.
What's the timing on this? If we decided we wanted to change the name, when would be an appropriate time to do that?
So I would just say you'd want to, because, I mean, I think you'd want to do something around like, so that you have a seamless transition between when the charge ends. So if it's just changing the name, or if it's not just, but if it's changing the name, then you'd want to do it before, in theory, before the charge for the energy committee ends, and then you could kind of like just swing over, and then that way for you guys, it just feels like it just continues. And yeah, I would just base it off of when the charge for energy committee ends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, our last meeting is in June. We're gonna have a recap after the town meeting, you know, whether the climate action plan passes or not, or whatever. So we're gonna have one, you know, one more meeting after that. So, you know, the goal is to, maybe we should focus on the charge part and, you know, the, you know, the,
Yeah.
work plan, and we'll get to that.
Mm.
Maybe that'll inform whether there's a need or
Right.
improvement to change the name.
Yeah.
So what do we want to do? Has anybody had any chance to think about what they would like to see for a charge?
What was the charge before the last charge that was focused on updating the climate action?
Well, we had a charge that was more like a work plan to start, and then I guess it was probably January or something of this year that said, okay, you know, we're gonna rein this thing in. So your charge now is to finish the climate action plan. So that's our, you know, our current charge.
Mhm. And completed it, yeah.
What's that?
So now we want to implement the plan. Can it be that broad, or do we want to drill down to look at the matrix and kind of prioritize that at this point? Or start to anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of like, you know, what you said a little while ago, Stephanie. It was like, okay, the charge is this big, you know, umbrella, you know, which is, okay, we did a climate action plan that, you know, and let's say the climate action plan passes. That must mean people want us to do something about this, right? So maybe the charge is just simple, you know. You know, we could add words to it like, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna, you know, to investigate, you know, cost effective and, you know, things that can be done or whatever. But maybe that. comes under
cost-effective
the
solutions
priority,
that are outlined under the new
outlined under the,
climate action plan.
yeah,
Yeah, or maybe one part of the charge is to prioritize or kind of figure out where to start based on cost effectiveness or time to implement or something like that. So maybe the first part is deciding what to do, and then the second part is, like, I don't know, if we could say something about trying to hit projects across each area. So like, you know, one project per area at least, or I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas.
yeah, no, it's good.
Cause there's a lot on the list.
Yeah, and you know, I wonder what's our role in nudging or pushing the tasks that other committees or staff are going to
Hmm.
be responsible for, you know, is that part of our charge, is to communicate with other boards and committees on a regular basis to make sure things are getting done? Or is that more the select board's charge, or how does that work? I mean, I honestly don't know in this town, you know, the best way
Right.
to do that.
That's a good point. I mean, if you, talk about, like back to the invasives thing, is that, it's part of the climate action plan, but is that like more the Conservation Commission? I mean, they're already involved in invasive management.
Well, I mean, there's a column, you know, in this matrix
Mhm.
that basically
Yeah.
says who's going to carry out
Right.
what.
Right. So implement strategies, increase public transit ridership, et cetera, bike, ped, energy committee. You know,
So I mean,
So-
one task is to pull out all of the ones that we're responsible for and prioritize those. Or do we want to prioritize everything in there regardless of who's responsible, you know, or on the hook for carrying it out?
well, I mean, I think you have a really good point. I mean, if there's, the fifth one down is bike, ped, and energy committee. If we're going for a charge that says that we are going to figure out how to implement the climate action plan, well, part of that is to be in touch with bike, ped about
Yeah,
the fifth one down or the fourth one down, so that could be a part of the whole thing. I think it's staying in touch with other committees about things that are appropriate for them. So what does that mean? Act as an organizer for the implementation of the plan.
My one thought here, if I may, is that so the committee is given a charge as, from my understanding, the committee is given a charge through the select board. So in a way that it kind of acts as an arm of the select board in a way. So I'm wondering if maybe in a way it could be kind of an in between, I don't know, between the updating the select board on like where progress is on achieving the goals of the climate action plan. So like if it passes, I think you noted that if it passes, that means that the voters of Topsham have made the point that they would like to see it happen. So then I guess one, what could be useful to the select board is someone that could update them along the way and say, here's, from our understanding, these things are being done now, these aren't, I don't know.
kind of like a report card, like this is where we're at. Or-
Right, exactly, like, because, who else would be giving them specific updates in regards to how the climate action plan is being, how it's being implemented?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the flip side of us keeping a, umbrella look on the whole thing, and knowing whether things are being done or not being done. So, yeah, updating the select board, I think that's good language.
How long would the new charge be for?
I don't know.
2 years?
I'm not sure.
And does the climate, sorry if it says it in there, does the climate action plan, is it a plan for the next decade? Or indeterminate?
It's indeterminate. We have timeframes on this matrix. At the bottom, you can see there's short term, which is 2 years or less, midterm, 2 to 5 years, long-term, 5+ years, and then ongoing, either already in progress or continuing. But I mean, I don't know how often other towns are updating their climate action plans, but most plans aren't frankly good for longer than 5 years, in my opinion. But on the other
Yeah.
hand, it's a lot of work to update it. So a lot of towns will go, I think, 10 years.
Well, it's been 13 years.
It's
for
such a
Topsham.
fast,
13?
it's such a fast moving, issue though. Like
Right.
a lot could happen in 10 years. Like we could be, parts of town could be underwater in 10 years. So
Yeah, I don't think that there's not a, an end date, but this is good until the next one.
Yeah.
So whenever a group gets together and says, hey, it's been 3 years and things have changed a lot, we needed, to update the plan, I think that's fair game.
Josh, how often do you think like the select board would hope or expect that we would update them on progress? Like, would that be annual or
I mean, I think that,
biannual?
I think in suggesting part of the charge, that would be a great question for them, in a way, it's kind of offering to the select board, like, this is passed, here's something that we can do as part of our charge. How often would you guys like to see updates? We're willing to do it up to, whatever,
Okay.
whatever it might be. Kind of working with them, like, on how we can,
Yeah.
can be most useful in that sense.
Yeah.
That sounds good. So if our charge is to implement the climate action plan, update the select board on progress, find out from them how often they want to hear from us on things.
Maybe set up regular communication with other town boards and committees. I'm not sure the best way to do that, but
I have no idea.
Well, I mean, as far as communicating, the chair of a committee and can always reach out to other committees and, I know that there's the email stipulation, you don't want to have like a quorum discussing things over email, but, yeah, for committee chairs to discuss each other and make plans for each other's like committees and keep each other in the loop. I don't see what would be wrong with that.
Mhm. Okay.
You could even, like, for example, I know we've had a CPIC member come to the Conservation Commission. So, at certain points, you could have some cross-pollination between committees, just, to give updates and suggestions and work together on things as needed.
Mhm. Cool. So, I mean, is that something that compact? Is that a charge?
I couldn't say, I don't know.
Good question.
That's a great question, yeah.
Yeah.
well, I
So we're
mean,
sort of, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Well, I mean, we're sort of left with the question, what is a charge? Ta-da. I mean, it's a very general.
Would it make any sense to meet with the select board? Ask for a meeting with them to talk about this? I'd really like to know what, I have a definite feeling based on the language that they've put on the warrant, that not that they're not eager to do stuff, but that they're concerned about finances. And so maybe a conversation with them about what they see as most beneficial to the town. I mean, they've got their hands in all kinds of fingers and all kinds of pies, so they know what other committees are doing. Just a thought.
Well, our history has been thinking stuff up that saved the town money.
Yeah,
I
right.
think that they're looking for us to, what, you know, what, by inserting the language, you know, into the warrant, I think, you know, they were expressing the need for people to know that there's nothing in the budget for this right now.
Right.
You know, which I'm not really that worried about that because it's pretty easy to find low hanging fruit. You know, I mean, when it comes to like suggesting that, you know, there's an energy audit or something like that, we may need to, you know, do a rough version where it indicates that some serious money can be saved, and then go to the select board and say, okay, we have reason to believe that we can save $50,000, but you're gonna have to spend 10,000 to do that, and, you know, we would have to, you know, kind of negotiate that. You know, so you know, part of what we've done in the past is to think it up, see if it's possible to pull it off, and then bring that to the select board.
Yep.
So I don't know if that fits in a charge, you know, because there's lots of things we can grab different things off of this list and say, okay, well, this, you know, this one looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks like that's got, you know, sort of prioritize what's on there, you know, for what seems like it has a possibility of, you know, of being done without asking for something that they've already stated that they don't want to provide, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of those things too, that often available funding sources often drive, you know,
Yeah.
what our next priorities are. Not
Sure.
that it should be that ideally planning, you'll identify the priorities and then a magical funding source will come out of the sky, but the reality is, like, I don't remember when the next community resilience partnership program grant cycle is, but we might want to look at that and see what their priorities are for this current round.
Yeah.
And see if we find something that matches it.
Right.
You know, that will be a good fit, that we think can be accomplished with just that grant.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the absence of knowledge of that, maybe I almost feel like we need a whole workshop devoted to just pulling out the actions and having kind of a brainstorming about priorities.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do in, like, try to fit into one meeting that's technically should be over in like a half hours. I mean, in theory anyway.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
maybe that's just kicking the can down the road, but.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's better for us to, you know, sort of think about the charge part.
The process.
Because there's a lot of
Yeah.
work into, you know, that's got to go into
Yeah.
figuring out whether something that's even, you know, has the potential to, you know, be something that, you know, that it's gonna, you know, town's gonna go with. But maybe a part of the charge is for us to research areas, you know, strategies and action, you know, possible actions, to research those and bring those to the select board as we get to that. I mean, it's kind of a general thing, but it is kind of what we've always done.
And that could be, to me, it almost sounds like it's almost like a subheader, right? Like, so like,
Yeah.
you'd be like our, you know, as an example, like, let's just say that you wanted to determine it as being like climate action plan implementation is the broad stroke, as an example. And then, you know, you could have a list underneath, and that includes, you know, and a few of the things that you guys have like just said, like that can include this and more. And that's and that kind of goes back to like the policy initiative. So anything that falls under that might be like a medium to large size, you know. So let's say that you guys went in as, you know, climate action plan implementation is the charge. If that was what you guys decided to do, then let's say, you know, as part of that, there was another large initiative under one of the sections, and then that would take like a policy thing. But yeah, you could just see it as like sub-charges, like just one overarching charge, and that could include
Yeah.
a list of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way, when, if it was portrayed or brought to the select board like that, that could allow them to maybe take a look at the list of things and, they'd be able to provide feedback about, this is something that we think that we could really use. Maybe this is something that we're not sure that we need right now, etc.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things on there, it's kind of like, you don't want to put out a climate action plan that doesn't have a bunch of stuff on it, but we want to look at the biggest bang for our buck.
Yeah.
Pick the lowest hanging fruit, get it done, and then, work our way up from there. Because right now we're gonna, if we put something that's really asking, for the icing on the cake, it's gonna cost too much. It's just not gonna get.
Have little wins and build toward the
Yeah,
bigger wins,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, again, it's sort of kicking the can down the road. I don't know if the intention was to do this today, but can we all sort of have homework of taking a hard look at this matrix and pick out some low-hanging fruit actions as a starting point, and then when we gather again in May, talk them over? And
That's a great
I mean,
idea.
that's just one idea, because it's overwhelming to figure out how to tackle this, so.
Did you get that current charge from?
It's linked in the agenda.
Oh. Thank you with that.
What is
Uh,
it looking at?
It's
Oh,
linked.
current
Current charges.
Right, look at you.
Where are you looking?
Right there.
I can't see.
Oh, sorry.
Is that on the agenda?
Yeah, on the agenda,
Oh, 'cause
current
it did-
charge.
It didn't,
Guiding
oh, I see.
principles.
I see what you're saying. Yep.
Um,
Oh, yeah. So literally
yeah,
like
so
the
that was,
mission.
yeah, this is like the original,
Do you know
Yeah,
what we're
but it's
referring
short.
to, Jackie?
yeah,
Vaguely.
At the bottom of the agenda, there's a hyperlink on current charge reference materials, current
Oh, yes.
charges.
Right.
So
right.
if you click on that, that's what we're referring to.
Okay, thank you. I was just a little bit behind you there.
I mean, I could see some tweaks that we can make even just to the mission statement.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I even have a copy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a lot different, sort of like I said, this is what we've been doing already. But,
Right.
right now, all of these focus areas have been removed, and climate action plan is the only thing that we're supposed to be working on right now. That got, changed in January.
But that's so broad and includes all of these other things.
It does. Yeah.
I mean, we could say focus area, climate adaptation or resilience, and then have
Yep.
a number of subheadings, or we could, I mean,
Yeah,
it's so broad.
yeah, for sure.
3-year term limits.
Uh-huh.
I did
I'm
not
already
know
over
that. I
I'm
don't
already
even
over
know.
it.
I didn't
I
see
saw
that.
in here
My
2
official
years.
letter said there is no term.
Huh,
It's like indefinite. I think that's what the letter said.
Okay.
really? I don't
Mine
remember what
things
my letter
changed.
said. I'll have to check it.
Mine said too. It didn't give a ton.
And obviously the staff liaison needs to change. Like there's some easy
Yeah.
tweaks to make here.
Yep. So what are you suggesting? You're suggesting that each one of us go back and just sort of look at these things and bring it in next time, or?
I mean, it looks like some of us are working on this right now. We could certainly do like edit by committee here in the, in the remaining time that we have on some of the obvious things here. sometimes editing by committee is hard, but if we're supposed to
Yeah.
work, if we're supposed to do everything publicly, you know, during the meeting, I mean, that's what we're waiting to get guidance on. So,
I'm almost certain that, I mean, your suggestion for like doing stuff outside and then coming back, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do that, yeah.
like, we have to come to consensus in a public meeting, right?
Exactly,
But we can
yes.
all come with our different ideas and then
Right.
do
Yeah.
that. On the other hand, like just editing one document like this together can be kind of
Maddening.
chaotic and
Yeah.
And a waste of time.
um, we could all mark this up on our own. We could download it and mark it up on our own and then bring our ideas to the next meeting
I kind of think that'd be a really good idea.
rather than all working in the same Google
Yeah,
document.
yeah.
So are we talking about the charge, or are we talking about this document that starts with the mission? Or are they
Well,
saying?
This is the original charge.
Yep.
The mission wasn't really changed, but the job that we were given was limited to finishing the climate action plan.
Right. Right.
You know, so all these focus areas, I mean, you know, we're still interested in those things, but that is not a part of the current charge.
So part of
As far
our
as I understand.
current charge is to implement the newly adopted, you know, soon to be newly adopted climate action plan.
That's optimistic, good, keep it up.
Hey, Jackie, I think you inadvertently moved
I did.
one of the mission items down to focus areas.
Yep, I think I did, and I'm not sure how I did that. I didn't think I could do anything to these documents. I was trying to copy to a separate document so I could play with it, and apparently played with it anyway. I think what I'll try to do is if I close it out, maybe it will go back to what it's supposed to be.
No, it saves,
No,
it saves
that's-
Can
automatically.
you
Oh,
click the
shit.
undo? Can you click the undo?
Yeah, you
button?
can click and undo.
I just looked for that, and it doesn't
It's-
have, it's not.
It's in the toolbox at the
Oh,
top.
Oh,
There's
okay.
there's an arrow that goes to the left.
Yes,
Try clicking that a few times.
I shall do that. Oh, yeah, I see that.
Go. Yeah, that's working.
I'm almost there. There we are. My
Okay, good.
So now, like, if everyone
Yeah,
just
how do we do that?
downloads this, if you go to file,
Make a copy,
you can either make a copy or you can, personally, I'm gonna download it into Word and so go file, download Microsoft Word. That's what I'm gonna do, just to do it outside of Google.
download Microsoft Word. Aha,
Okay, I've done
good,
that.
cool.
And then I have to convert it to something else.
Oh, you don't, Word?
No, I don't use Word.
Oh, okay.
Fine, because my
Well, you can
program.
make-
will
You can
grab
make a copy, Jackie, you can
No,
make a copy.
Yeah, it's no problem. It's no problem.
Okay, all right, not a problem, okay, good. All right, so that seems like good marching orders. then.
Yeah, and that gets us all, you know, in the matrix, looking at things and.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we look at that document and then we look at the matrix.
Yep.
And pull out our own ideas, you maybe just jot them down of what we think the good low-hanging fruit projects are that we could tackle first.
Yeah,
And then come back in May and just have like a really
Quick.
focused
Take
working
pieces that we
session,
like,
like
yeah.
don't get caught up in other business, just like you know,
yeah,
drag it out and nail it down.
yeah, cool.
I don't
Sounds
know if
good.
it's doable, but
No, I think it is.
Doable if we
if we
do
focus.
some work on this. you know.
And if we do the work,
Yeah.
right?
So all for one, one for all, we're gonna do the work.
Sure. absolutely.
Promise.
So like what you're suggesting, Victoria, is that we, instead of having those focus areas, that you might put or within that those focus areas, things from the matrix. Am I following you?
No, I was suggesting that we look at the, what are we called, what is this document called?
What, this thing?
The guiding principles document that we
Yes.
just uploaded or copied.
Yep.
Like looking at that and marking that up however we think.
Okay.
And then separate homework assignment is looking at the CAP fact sheet that was also hyperlinked, that has
Yep.
the matrix of all the different actions.
Right.
And pull out like the low hanging fruit. Does that seem like a doable?
Yeah, does.
That's what I was suggesting.
Right, okay, and now I've got it, thank you. So some of those projects, does that mean we'd be kind of eliminating things that are long-term or midterm, that we'd only be looking at short-term ones? Or
No, I don't think it does. I think
Okay.
because, you know, if something's long-term, it just takes a long time to do it.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's a bad
It's
You might
project.
wanna start on the steps sooner, but it might take a long time to
Right.
actually implement.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think it's more just like going over this and saying, okay, this one looks like it has a really good chance of success. Let's put that in there. This one looks, you know, far-fetched. You know, we're not gonna be able to find the funds for it or whatever. Just take your own assessment, you know,
Right.
of what you think are good, strong possibilities.
okay, one more question. We went through the red dot exercise and we prioritized those. Should we be looking at that, you know, from what the people were telling us was most important to them? Should we take a look at that at all?
I mean, sure. But where is that?
Did that get integrated into the final report though?
I don't think it did. It just dawned
Oh.
on me that it did not, and I think, I wish I'd caught that.
Yeah,
That would be compelling to the select board, I think, if
Yeah,
this
we
is
had-
what the community has prioritized, and we're gonna
Right.
start with the highest priority and most cost effective.
I forget, we have just photos of those?
No, I
Ah.
actually made a document.
Oh, you did?
Did. I just have to find it. It's somewhere on my computer. I won't try to look for it now, but I will send that to all of you.
That'd be great. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one quick new business item.
Yes.
I should have thought ahead and added it ahead of time.
Bring it
I,
on.
I attended an online webinar through Vermont Law and Graduate School. It was a professor at the University of Michigan gave a lecture on rural renewable energy. And a lot of it was around just perception of renewable projects. And so I took a lot of notes, and I was wondering if there's a place in our Google Drive to kind of start compiling, you know, if we wanted to start resources
Yep.
for when we want to do a renewable project and we need to figure out like, how do we, maybe this professor could be a resource. She gave me some other ideas for resources, so I could put my notes there.
That's a great idea.
Yes.
Sounds like we need one.
Should we just create that, or should Yvette do that? Or, you know, you're a co-chair, so you can do it.
Doesn't mean I'm fluent.
And, you know, is that an example of a thing where I could just email everyone the notes, just to say like, hey, I attended this, these are the notes I took, I'm saving them here, in case anyone wanted to read them now.
Mhm.
Is that appropriate?
Yeah, we can find a place. resource materials or something like that.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe
inside there, we
folder.
could organize it by topic area or something.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, I wish that Jeanette was back on and was telling us.
I
things.
know, I feel worried.
I'm a little worried too, because I mean, biking around here can be,
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone have her contact info? I don't, but, I mean, I guess we have Victor's, but.
We'll just have to. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, but I'm going to miss this meeting, going to the doctor.
Oh, jeez.
Via bike.
That was at 4:41.
Oh,
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 okay.
Oh. Wow. Shit.
I hope he's okay.
Well, feel free to send him a note now. Say we wish him the best.
Okay. All right, well, I guess, that's about it. We got some work to do.
we do.
Jackie, the Highland presentation on Monday, I'm planning to come help with that. And what time did you want, or should we arrive for that? Was that arrive half an hour early?
Yeah, about a half hour ahead. It's scheduled for 2:30. And when that's of course back in May, so it's a ways away yet. But yeah, if you're there at 2, that would be great. Because I'll be playing with their projector for the first time. That will be a new experience for me.
Okay.
And I have been promised cookies, so. And we have a great chef, so.
So, I guess we're good. So, I don't know if there's any public out there?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, so there will be no public, comment. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Nice.
Jackie?
I'll second.
It's definitely second. All there? Okay.
Get cracking on the
Get
on the
cracking.
homework.
Oh no,
I
homework.
don't know, will you be checking in with Yvette?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can, and Victor too, I guess.
Yeah.
We need to let them know, it's in the minutes, but I don't think people will look at those until the last minute, so.
Yeah.
But the minutes are in the drive, so if they want more details about it, they can check there.
Okay, I'll do that.
Although it's kind of hard to take minutes today. I don't know if I got everything right, so please, everybody look them over and make sure that I covered everything.
Okay.
We have faith in you,
So
Victoria.
they're in mine
Great
now.
job with those.
Say it again?
5 minutes folder.
Yeah, oh, I said you did
Yeah.
a great job on the minutes. So,
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't think these are great, but let me know if
You
they're
should see the
not.
ones I've done when I'm- You wanna know what
All right.
it is.
I'm gonna close this down, but
All right, see you later, Jackie.
take care, Jackie.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Take care.